actually am very interested in Dr. Ngozi's view about the situation in the country now. Dr. Ngozi, as you know, things have changed a lot in Nigeria since you were finance minister, and particularly the economy has gone into recession. There's been a huge devaluation in the naira, and I'm quite interested to know, if you were still finance minister, what would your top three priorities be for solving the economic crisis in Nigeria right now?
Well, Ola, you know, one of the things you learn as you get wiser is to talk less and leave. You know, I've spent my time, I've contributed the best I could for the country, and I think it's still one of the most interesting countries in the world. And it would be better to leave those who are managing now to say what they would do. But all I can say is that there are solutions. You know, people in the country should not lose hope because I think that there are solutions. Nigeria is a vibrant country. I love it so much, and I know that it's going to come out of this one way or the other. We just need to
Dr. Ngozi just basically said no comment in a very, very eloquent way.
I'm so sorry, Ola. I'm usually not.
She's like, I'm not answering that. The whole of Nigeria is like leaning forward. What would Dr. Ngozi do right now? Dr. Ngozi is like, next question.
Femi, I gave 7 years of my life. You
probably have some very good answers, Dr. Ngozi, right? I know that you think about this. Who do you gripe to? Because Nigerians love to talk about politics. Now, I know you're not going to tell me what you talk about, but who do you talk about politics to? When you know that no one's going to leak your thoughts? Who do you, is it your hubby? Who is it? Is it your kids? Who do you like, if Nigeria could only do this? Like, I grew up on that. My dad and my mum used to do that all of the time.
Well, families do that anyway.
Yes.
You know, families,
to your
everybody,
is it just your family circle that you talk about?
Yeah, but you know, the thing is that I'm not your typical politician. I wasn't even a politician. I went in as a technocrat.
Yeah.
But whenever I say that to friends from Europe or the US, they always tell me, you were a finance minister, so you were in politics, whether
also,
you liked it or not.
You avoided that question like a perfect politician.
No,
Can I rephrase the question then?
Ola is not giving up.
I think you got the answer. Yeah, go ahead.
The top impediments are to economic growth on the continent.
Ah, nicely reframed.
Well, I think on the continent, we have seen a period when we were doing relatively well. And it's only in the last 2-3 years things have started to go a bit south. I think what we need to do is refocus on basics, which is on macroeconomic stability. Why do I say that? I know it sounds like so much economic jargon, but we are seeing now that if you don't pay attention to the fundamentals of having, you know, stable and good exchange rate policy, inflation under control, a manageable fiscal deficit, and debt, you know, and so on, across the continent. I gave a TED talk where I sort of listed, here are the 6 or 7 things that we did right, and here are about 8 or 9 things we did wrong on the continent.
See, I love that TED talk, because you not only said this is what the rest of the world can do, how you can do better by Africa. This is how we as Nigerians, as Africans, can do better for ourselves.
Absolutely.
One of the ones I loved was private foundations coming to the continent and saying, we're going to help you cure this, and we're going to help you do this, and your response was very direct. What was your critique about these private foundations?
Well, you know, it's not so much a critique as saying, look, as Africans, what I'm very proud of is when we have solutions for ourselves, when we find the answer, and then we ask other people to come and support us to implement those things. And I gave some examples. For instance, you know, I used the example of Rwanda and the use of drones, you know, for the African Risk Capacity and Organization. I'm also chair of the board. And I meant Gavi,
right.
The Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, where I'm also chair of the board, where Gavi, in partnership with the government in the lead on this issue, and Zipline and DHL came together to talk about using drones to solve the problem of getting vaccines and medicines to a mountainous area where infrastructure is difficult. And that kind of solution that the country was willing to try and experiment and then getting other organizations to come behind it is one where I think, where Africans come up, take the lead. And I give that as an example in my TED Talk, along with the one of the African risk capacity and the weather-based insurance, which I also gave as an example. But I think that you look at organizations like Gavi, which I'm very proud, to be the chair of such an organization whose goal is to vaccinate children around the world, and whose goal is to support governments to come up with solutions to take care of their own programs of vaccines and immunization for their children. And then Gavi comes and supports them from behind. These are the kinds of things. Any organization that will put you in front as solving your problem and then support you, I'm for it.
So you have that, but when you compare that, your answer to Ola a little bit earlier, just 1 second, we'll actually come to you in just a moment. So in your answer to Ola, you mentioned that you did not want essentially to be in a position to criticize because you've already done that for 7 years. But we do have a question here that just came in live from Baba Tunde saying, please ask if she would be willing to serve Nigerians if in Buhari's government if called upon. Are you open to the possibility, if called upon, to take a position that you've had before, to actually re-engage, or is this completely, are you entirely done with that at this point?
I served my country for 7 years. I left jobs 7 years in a row to come and serve, and I think it was a great honor. Even though the experience was so tough, as I said, and so rough the second time around, it's still an honor. However, I'm not the only repository of wisdom. They have other people who know, also know.
If you got the call, you would probably say no at this point?
Because there are other people who can equally try their hand at running the economy. It's not only one person.
So that would be a no.
I'm having too much fun.
I speak fluent Dr. Ngozi. Busi, go ahead. What did you want to add?
So I just wanted to ask specifically, going back to the question about women and young people. A lot of us are starting to create businesses to start, ventures that create solutions and that create employment, because we do know that unemployment is a huge socioeconomic challenge in the entire continent. How can governments sort of come in to assist young women and young people who are starting their own businesses, sort of accelerate that process and help us create more employment?
Well, first of all, I want to commend you and commend all of you. I'm so proud. Here we are with a woman politician, a young woman who is putting her neck out and leading a party. We have a young woman entrepreneur. We have another young woman entrepreneur with something like Flying Doctors. I'm really, really proud. And you make me feel so much hope. So I think that's the way to go. I think that the unemployment situation on our continent is such that I would advise young people not to wait anymore to look for someone to employ them, but to try to create a job for themselves and maybe 5 or 6 other people. And I do think that there's room for the government to try to help. When I was in government, the last time, we actually had a program called You Win, Youth Entrepreneurship with Innovation. And this program was designed to support young entrepreneurs, meaning 40 and below. We raised the age to 45 for women when we did a program for women. And the whole idea was to do a business plan competition. We trained people to write business plans, and then we chose the 1,200 best, and they got grants. And the idea was that they should create jobs. And guess what? On average, each one of these entrepreneurs created, on average, about 9 to 10 jobs. That's tremendous. That's worth it. If you do the cost-benefit analysis, you see it works. The World Bank did an evaluation of this. They also co-financed it with DFID, the British Aid Agency. And they found it to be one of the best programs ever run in the world of this type. Oh. So I do believe there's room for the government to come behind, but not just with grants or credit. Also with training, with support. We started a peer-to-peer mentoring because some entrepreneurs are faster ahead than others. They could counsel the others. We did a mentorship program with established businessmen and women, and it was all very interesting. If you see the goods and the services being offered by these young entrepreneurs, you'd really, really be very proud. Now, one of the things I want to say about entrepreneurship, it's not only about struggle, it's about managing success. Some of the entrepreneurs were making it, but then the business will start falling apart, because when you start selling so much or making so much, you don't know how to manage. So also counseling people on how to, on the accounting, the bookkeeping, the sales, the marketing, you know, how to keep on top of your business and not let it fall apart when you're successful. It's very important.
Dr. Ngozi, let me show our audience this picture, because I have a lot, and I want to share as many as I can before the end of the show, which is coming up here. This picture here, how old are you in this picture?
I'm 19.
What would you tell your 19-year-old self now that you've lived this very vibrant life, and I know there's more to come? What would you have told your 19-year-old self? What advice
I think I should have enjoyed a lot more when I was 19 than I did. I was quite serious. I was always studying. You know, even though you see with my husband, I had a boyfriend, but I was all about the books. And I didn't have a, so I would have said, have a lot more fun. There's time for responsibility. So, but I'm not trying to tell people to just run out and be responsible. Have a good balance.
This is your boyfriend back in, what year was this? 19...
This was 1909.
Currently still your husband. Definitely have sticking power.
1970, it was in 1973.
All right.
74.
All right. 74. This conversation continues, but not here. We are going to go online, and we're actually going to go onto Facebook. So Dr. Ngozi Okonjo Iweala is sticking around to answer your questions in a very special Facebook Live post show. You will find us at facebook.com/AJStream. Omar and I and Dr. Ngozi and all of our guests will see you in a moment. Don't go away. Thanks for watching, everybody. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo Iweala has been called one of the most powerful women in the world, a description that carries as much controversy as cachet. I'm Femi Oge.
And I'm Omar Badar. Now, besides helping to change Nigerian politics, she has had a huge impact on the World Bank. During her tenure there, she was the first female